Welcome, everyone. I am thrilled to be here at DSS Asia 2023. My name is Michael Haig, and I'm the head of product marketing at Yugabyte. In this session, we are going to examine the top business priorities facing retail companies and how an elastic, resilient data layer is really key to addressing their top priorities. And to provide the deep retail and Yugabyte insights, I'm thrilled to be joined by Ame Banarse. Ame is the Vice President of Data Engineering at Yugabyte, where he leads our technical sales and solutions engineering teams. Throughout his career, Ame has been critical in helping retail companies of all sizes modernize their databases and accelerate their cloud-native initiatives. We all recognize that retailers have gone through massive changes and innovations over the past several years. As they adapt to the new normal and look at their business and IT priorities, there are four common themes that come up again and again as we talk to these companies. Now, Ame, you spent a lot of time with a number of retailers, from new retailers to established industry leaders. To help set up our discussion today, can you give us your take on these four main priorities for retailers and what their IT teams are being asked to help solve?
We feel that we hear these four key themes all the time from our customers to make sure they're successful and profitable as a business as well. Because remember, retail industry, the margins are very low when you take a look at per item basis. So it all comes through loyalty and repeated customer experiences, and that's where enhancing customer experience becomes a topmost priority. And we're going to tap into that. We're going to talk about how some of the customers that we work with have provided these experiences as well. Second thing is efficiency. That is, how can you be more efficient in terms of purchases, in terms of your overall look and feel of your application, and providing that same efficiency to your internal org as well. So it's an important thing for us to understand that. Third one, or the third theme I would say, is the overall trust, loyalty, and availability. That is, yes, you have people paying for your premium membership, so they trust you for giving you 2-day shipping, fast returns, but you have to be available as well. You need to make sure you're catching up to the trends, providing the same exact experience for these premium set of customers. And the fourth one is modernization. That is how you can embrace modernizations to take a look from a giant refrigerator style POS checkout boxes to more lightweight, to more serverless kind of options as well, as the industry is shifting toward that paradigm. So we're going to tap into modernization bucket and actually talk about our experiences on how we are helping some of the largest retailers in the world through digital transformation and modernization today.
So let's jump right in with the first priority. As someone that enjoys shopping online and in person, the idea of customer experiences is near and dear to my heart. Now, Ame, what role does data and the database play in enabling retailers to enhance experiences and differentiate themselves?
We've made it so easy for us to go shop online, return the process, that it comes down to how can these retailers provide that experience, and the backend for that is usually the data tier. So data is considered usually the last frontier in terms of modernization. But if you want to accelerate delivery of your new services, that is, bring new experiences to the market, it starts with putting together the right modern data tier. That is, having a distributed database really helps you for achieving scale and resiliency. At the same time, you should have a very robust data pipeline to load high throughput, low latency style data, and making sure you're able to accelerate productivity for your developers to go quickly, get through the new features in a very reduced complexity and operational overhead as well. So that becomes one of the most important thing for any new architect who's working on this retail use case, in making sure that they're able to provide that kind of experience to the end customer. The second thing is, if you look at the trends now, right, between Instagram, TikTok, and few other social media outlets who have now started to encroach the retail space by providing that buy button or the experience, they are doing that with aggressive marketing combined with the use of really solid computer science algorithms. That is, they go scan the social media for micro trends. They enable brands to cut down their production to as low as few days. So gone are the days where the brands and the designers going to sit down for a month or so and then mass produce something. These new applications are collecting data on users, making sure that they're tailoring the experiences based on what user really wants to see. So that basically comes with you need a very solid, scalable, and a resilient data tier to meet that level of data collection that you're doing for the industry as well. And the third thing is, if you want to deliver a very seamless checkout and a shopping cart experience, you need to make sure that your data is resilient even in case of failures. And we're going to take a look at some of these experiences and how larger cloud outages or even natural disasters like a snowstorm have affected large retailers, but we have helped them become way too resistant or resilient to such scenarios as well. So there's one experience that comes to my mind actually. One of our very large customer, and this is Kroger, which is based in Midwest. And if you take a look at Kroger, Kroger is actually a grocery conglomerate. That is, they own about 30 different grocery chains. Started as a Midwest outfit, but has grown across 48 states in the United States. And Kroger is a great example of a company that recognized the trade-offs. That is, the trade-offs they were making with the ancient architecture, legacy architecture, and in order to make or remain competitive in the modern retail world, Kroger committed to this massive digital transformation initiative. That is, they basically changed the motto of the company. They said, you know what, we're going to do with lead with fresh and accelerate with digital. And they started their journey by basically shifting to a data-centric initiative with the biggest focus in this whole thing on the data tier itself. That is, they're like, let's take a look at how do I provide these omni-channel experiences or omni-channel services as they call it to my end customers? How do I deal with peak seasonal spikes when it comes to Memorial Day or Labor Day weekend and a whole rush in their physical store as well as online presence to go buy certain set of products? And they basically ended up helping them with a very cloud neutral, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud strategy. So Kroger set their ambition back in 2018, 2019 days to modernize their entire tech stack, deliver these new customer experiences, and adopt this multi-cloud strategy. And Yugabyte DB is the backbone for that in helping them do shopping registry, shopping wish list, shopping cart kind of experiences. And now we have taken more than 20 new microservices to work with them to modernize their entire tech stack for that whole thing. And this provides them a single database platform to go be more scalable and be more resilient, and most importantly, being operationally efficient as well. So they don't need to hire a whole bunch of DBA teams to manage this database platform. Yugabyte was fortunate enough to be born in a cloud native container era. So we ensured that all the database reliability engine techniques are built into the product. So you can scale up and scale down on the peak demands. You're able to handle millions of ops per second on a peak day, come back to 100,000 ops per second in matter of minutes. And that's the experience that Yugabyte Cloud also provides you. So Michael, I hope this case study helps our audience. Again, folks, if you have any questions, put it on the chat. Happy to answer any of the questions when it comes to Kroger's strategy as well.
Yeah, and I know that's a great one. Is they really embrace this idea of starting at that data layer again. As I talk to a lot of customers and think about it, it's like people are spending a lot of time on app modernization. They're spending a lot of time on cloud infrastructure and revamping their infrastructure.
Right.
But the data layer sits in between those two. And if you're not also modernizing that layer, then anything you do at the app layer, anything you do at the cloud layer, you're just you're bottlenecked. You're missing a lot of the great benefits. And Kroger's a great example of taking that mentality of that data layer first. So great, Dama. You talked a lot about the customer experience, which of course top of mind for everybody. But I know a lot of the leading retailers we talk to, there's another key stakeholder that is important to IT as well, and that's the worker experience, the frontline worker. What are you kind of hearing about what retailers are doing for the frontline workers in that angle as well?
Actually, that's a great point, Michael. And when we as consumers think about our life should be easier for getting the product quickly and adapting to the new trends, we also have to be cognizant of the fact that there are workers who are helping us stack up those products and provide that experiences to us with a very hard set of jobs and working hours. Take a look at Thanksgiving Day deliveries, right? There are customers or there are retailers who did same day delivery during Thanksgiving days. So the workers, the pressure on them has to be really, really solid to do that. So if you take a look at one other case study, right, that is, we met with Kohl's and the CTO and the chief supply chain officer for Kohl's, that is Paul Gaffney, who's actually an industry veteran when it comes to the way retailers are thinking and adopting these digital native experiences. And he said it really well. That is, he's worker experience is equally important as well. So we have this basically a fireside chat with Sudha and Paul Gaffney that was recorded about a year ago, where Paul went over why worker experience was really, really important for Kohl's as well. And the goal was to make workers more efficient so that they spend time with customers in the stores, helping them, advising them the product to be bought, as opposed to just racking and stacking all the warehouses with all the stuff you have and doing an inventory count as well. So when you look at Kohl's is like actually one of the best thing when it comes to like, always looking for new ways to run their stores more economically, but at the same time, giving customers that awesome in-store experience as well. Like even today, you can walk into Kohl's store and return your Amazon products. That's a huge deal. But that's also possible because, they invested in these technologies. The real role of technology here was to make associates or the workers' life much easier so they can spend more time in frontline as opposed to backroom tasks, and enabling high quality engagement with their business needs as well. So very strategic again, and they are leveraging technology in the best possible way to making sure that even the working experience in Kohl's is like seamless, not just a customer experience as well. Again, folks, if you're interested in this topic, we have like about an hour or so that we had a conversation with Paul. There's a link out here that Michael is presenting on the slide. You folks can go and watch this as well.
Perfect, Tommy. So I agree. I mean, customer experience is top of mind for us all. The frontline experiences directly helps that as we make them more efficient. They can spend more time with the end customer, which is critical. So let's jump into then our second topic. Customers front and center for retailers, but again, it's at the bottom of the line. It's a business. Your executive team out there is going to be looking at the bottom line, looking at profitability, and that directly goes back to how efficiently can you do this? How efficiently can you run your business, deliver services and stuff? So let's jump into this second topic. And as we think about the role that the database plays in retailers, how can a modern solution help increase the efficiency and help drive up those overall profits and that ever important margins that people look at in retailers?
Right. Yeah. And Michael, this is a very important thing because as I mentioned earlier, a lot of time retails happens to be like, a low margin business. If you're taking a look at only one product or a set of products at a time. So most profitability comes from repeat businesses, loyal customer base, and more importantly, having a very good handle on the total cost of ownership when it comes to like, the modern data layer and modern data architectures as well. And this is where, again, like, as a core decision that Yugabyte's founders took in making sure that we build this scalable, resilient database tier, we ensured that all of our product is 100% open source so that it can it can benefit from like the community and the innovation that our customers and users bring to the table. But more importantly, we are able to prove it to any customer executives that, the total cost of ownership with such a cloud native database is extremely low compared to the giants monolith style databases like the red logos and the blue logos of the world as well, right? I want to basically answer this question, Michael, that you threw at me with a customer example again. So if you take a look at one of the customers that we work with, that is Narvar. And for the folks here who don't know Narvar, think about like any retail online shopping experience you have gone through. Walmart, Kohl's, Home Depot, the Gap, the Nikes of the world. The products basically, as soon as you do a checkout and you submit the order, and from that time onwards until the order is delivered to your doorstep, the entire experience is handled by this one company called Narvar. So they provide this personalization platform wherein as soon as the order and delivery is completed and it's fulfilled, the entire tracking, the notification, the personalized email messages that you get or mobile notifications you get is all handled by Narvar. So as you can imagine, Narvar is tasked with helping these 800 odd retailers and huge brands of the world to meet their SLA when it comes to order fulfillment. But more importantly, doing that at a very low total cost of ownership. So when we started working with Narvar back in 2018, they presented a problem that, managing this whole set of data tier on Amazon Web Services was hard enough, between DynamoDB and Elastic Cache and Aurora and RDS. So we helped them consolidate those set of solutions into one single Yugabyte DB. As you know, Yugabyte DB provides two developer-friendly APIs. That is, we have a relational Postgres-compatible API or a non-relational or a semi-relational Cassandra-compatible API. So you can pick and choose based on your use cases what you want to consume. For a high throughput, low latency JSON-B style use cases, people go with the Cassandra API. If you have a data model which is more relational and you want to do joins and queries, you go with the Postgres API. So we help Narvar basically get that database consolidation, help them with much lower cost of ownership when it comes to running this platform. And at the same time, helping them handle the peak Black Friday and Cyber Monday scale events as well, where the traffic for all these retailers would increase by 4 to 5x. And they're able to easily scale up their data platform, meet their end experiences, and then scale down the data platform once all the Cyber Monday and the traffic is gone overall. So providing seamless customer experience with a lower total cost of ownership became the prime thing for Narvar to go and scale their business as well. And again, we've been fortunate enough to work with them and help them achieve their business goal in this process as well. Again, folks, if you're interested in hearing more about Narvar, their CTO Ram Ravichandran actually spoke at one of our conferences back in 2020, and the video is available. We are happy to share the link with you on in their own words, how they went through digital transformation and how has Yugabyte helped them achieve this total lower cost of ownership with their database solution. So, Michael, I hope that helps you in terms of like increasing efficiency when it comes to running their own businesses with a new data tier as well.
Yeah, no, I mean that's great. And I know. I mean that story. I mean being able to lower that TCO while still getting the benefits of distribution and all these other benefits and performance. It's kind of the and that we're always after. You get this and this. So again, we talk a lot about no trade-offs. So you talk about having either Cassandra, relational, non-relational. You have the best of both worlds, and that's really a common theme as you look into what we're doing. It's just trying to combine those. I want to stay on this topic for just another second. I know I want to kind of keep going, looking at time, but there's another great story. This is probably one of my favorite stories. Is I joined the company talking about the importance of consistent data and the level and kind of the role that can play in driving profitability and helping kind of retailers be successful. Let's share that with the audience because I love this story.
Perfect. Yeah. So if you take a look at this slide, right, Michael, and if you want, I can move the next slide. Yeah. So folks, we work with a very large retailer. Think of it as like, a top 5 global retailer who basically came to us with a very strategic business problem. That is, how do you ensure that, the data that you have in different data centers across the US, so let's say like, East Coast, West Coast, and South, how do you make sure the data is strongly consistent across all these regions so that whenever you're doing shopping, you get the same system of record style data without having to go through like reconciliation of data across different data centers. So essentially a data replication, data rebalancing kind of a business problem. So before Yugabyte, this retailer would they would provide local experiences through their local data centers and then do a reconciliation job to make sure like the inventory count and the warehouse counts remain the same. But this only works for normal day. But let's say you're doing a huge product launch when you basically get into a scenario where you have very low inventory count left for that product, then you're bound to get into a situation where you have a mismatch between the counts between the different data centers and the reconciliation job hasn't kicked in. And there are certain experiences where customers would be like, hey, I tried to buy this product and I completed the checkout, but I got an email saying that the product doesn't exist in their stock, right? So to avoid those kind of situations, this customer basically came to us with a business problem that help us deploy a geo-distributed topology of Yugabyte, which can do like strongly consistent system of record style data use case across 3 different data centers in the US. And we basically help them achieve that because Yugabyte, with combination of Raft as a consensus algorithm and a customized RockDB, as we call it, a document DB store, we help provide a transactional, strongly consistent data tier, even across multiple geographies. And this is what we tapped into. We ensured that this customer was able to meet their business SLA and provide a seamless customer experience by providing this geo-distributed topology on top of Yugabyte as well. Now, they chose to run it on their own Azure environment. That is, Yugabyte also provides you a Yugabyte platform product, which helps you run your own Yugabyte as a service internally. So you don't have to worry about any data compliance or security requirements because we give you the hooks to go and operate Yugabyte at scale. And your entire operations and your entire data is stored on your data centers or your own VPCs as well. So with this customer, we tried a couple of different geo-distributed topologies to do more latency sensitive, high throughput reads on a local data center, but at the same time providing that global consistency as well. And we're going to tap into this use case again, Michael, when we talk about the modernization effort as well. But again, folks, keep in mind that, if you're doing huge product launches, the data correctness becomes one of the most important thing for your architecture because you need to provide that core system of record style data consistency to our end user. And if something is out of stock, you need to go and make sure it's available right there, as opposed to providing a bad customer experience after the fact.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all hate getting that your order has been canceled or suddenly your shipping has been reset to 10 weeks out or something crazy like that, which just happened to be the other week. And it's frustrating. So that data, that accurate data, again, it goes back to that common thing we talked about front, that having that right data at hand is critical. Awesome. Okay, let's keep moving. I want to jump into our third topic here and looking at our poll again. This hopped up to kind of number 2 in the poll, and that's building trust and availability. And this is so important, especially again with e-commerce and all the online shopping that's happening right now. And I mean, actually, let me kick this off because I found a great stat that I want to share. I don't know if you've seen this yet. We didn't talk about this too much, but Gartner put out a great stat in one of their surveys the other year in their top 10 strategic technology trends report, where they showed that digital trustworthy companies generate 20% more profits online than untrusted sites. And actually, when I saw this stat, I was like, that if I get pushed to some random retail site that I don't trust or that doesn't use Google Pay, again, my preferred way of paying, I'm definitely less likely to shop there. And the more you hear about kind of theft and everything, it's important. So building that trust, having that kind of security built in, and building that loyalty, that following where people know and trust and are comfortable buying from you is extremely important. So again, let's go back to the role of the data layer as we think about kind of what we're doing at the database layer. How are we helping retail companies build that trust, making sure they're available and building that loyalty within their customer base?
Yeah. So Michael, remember as we talked about the strong consistency, the accuracy of data, that basically builds trust. I mean, that is first step to ensuring that your customer comes back to you for repeat businesses. You provide them appealing offers and coupon codes and making sure they're able to get hooked onto your deals and continue to get you their businesses through providing seamless customer experience. So that's number one. And that also helps you basically go from a local retail store to more geographically distributed global retail store as well. And if you take a look at certain examples, there are certain retailers who just got started 3 years ago. And I just saw one news yesterday that there's a retailer who started in 2020 and it's already shipping the product to 195 countries. That's completely based on the accuracy of data that they provided, and more importantly, that seamless customer experience when it comes to the trust and the loyalty and repeat business as well. But when you look at the other side of things here, that is, how do you ensure that your data tier is available even in the worst possible disaster scenarios? So let's say the cloud outage, like the East Coast backbone of Amazon went down sometime in Amazon Web Services went down sometime in December. It caused some outage to some companies, but how do you ensure that your data tier is resilient to such outages, so that even in case of a disaster, your customers can still continue doing their transactions and having those checkout experiences? I think investing in your data tier with that mindset helps us a lot overall, right? And that's a primary thing. In Yugabyte, we build the product so that you can actually provide that strongly consistent data tier across multiple geographies, or you can provide low latency reads in a very local region. We call it follow reads or read replicas kind of topologies as well. Or you can do just if you have an edge location and a retail hub location, then you can do data reconciliation between each of them in a real-time fashion, as opposed to a batch once in a day kind of a fashion. And that's the exact demo we're going to take a look at today. That is how you power a new retail application with a online presence as well as a physical store presence, and how do you reconcile data to ensuring that you can create more deals and coupons and repeated customer experiences as well. So that's one part of it. The second and the most important part of it is security of data. That is, as you said, you might find a deal through Google search on one of the websites, but if you don't see HTTPS being used, or their certificate has failed, or they don't have Google Pay or PayPal experiences, most likely, Michael, you're not going to buy any products from that website, right? So that's another way to build trust. That is ensuring that you protect customers' data, or protect customers' privacy. You adhere and comply with the local jurisdiction rules for data compliance as well. That's the first and the most important step to start building customer experiences and customer trust as well. So if you look at one of the slides actually that Yugabyte basically has, I'll just quickly go to that one slide again. That is, the security features that we provide are basically the enterprise hardened security features that any enterprises would need to go and provide the solution at scale to their end customers. So starts with providing encryption at rest, encryption in transit, having ability to bring your own keys and certificates as well. We provide those things out of the box. Now, you also want to ensure that your operations team is logging all the activity from database standpoint, so that given a case, you should be able to provide that audit report and ensuring that hey, these are the instances where the developer touched we had to take a look at certain code or take a look at logs and things like that. More importantly, having robust set of access controls, like role-based access controls, backed by Active Directory or a Kerberos authentication really helps you gaining the trust as well internally in your organization with respect to rolling out such a large solution. And the most important thing that Yugabyte really focuses on is ensuring that your code, the software quality and the code is completely audited by a third party solution, so that you can go and do security checks and validations and meet those compliance requirements that are set for these enterprise customers to go and make the solution scalable as well. So security, having the data correctness, and having essentially that global footprint of data in case of a disaster becomes important. So Michael, the last thing I was going to talk to you about, remember last year during January, we had a huge outage for some of the most popular websites and businesses because of the Texas snowstorm. I didn't really think that Texas would ever have a snowstorm and a power outage for 4.5 days. But one of our customers who were running one part of Yugabyte data center in Texas basically had faced this situation as well. That is, all of their data centers on all the applications powered through that data center went down in matter of seconds. And that happened, the outage lasted for 4.5 days. But Yugabyte was able to tolerate that disaster and continue to provide a seamless customer experience because Yugabyte is deployed in a multi-region, strongly consistent fashion. So we have 3 replicas of data across, still providing strong consistency. And the way we built Yugabyte as a database was that in case of failure of one of the data centers, in this case, Texas, and you see that large snowstorm icon in there, we basically provide this customer no data loss, that is RPO, that is recovery point of 0, even if they lost the entire Texas data center at given point. And the time it took for us to recover, rebalance the traffic from the Texas to other East Coast and West Coast data center in real-time fashion was about 3 seconds. So when you put the computer science cap here in picture here, Yugabyte is a CP database with trade-off on availability for not more than 3 seconds, which is something that, for those 3 seconds, our application driver handles retrying logic, and we ensure that, the connections go to East and West Coast in this case, and ensuring your customers basically have that seamless customer experience without performance degradation, without any loss of data, and more importantly, without any downtime. So we are pretty proud of this fact that, this is something that's capable because of technology today, as opposed to doing your own manual rebalancing, going to your load balancers and figuring out what's the real copy of data. So you as an operator or a business owner does not have to spend time doing all of that. You rely on a core database technology, a distributed database in this case, to handle all these things for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that, yeah, that's great. And I grew up in Texas and saw those pictures from friends, and I never imagined the weather. So if nothing else we've learned in the past few years, you can't plan for weather. Pandemic throws everything. The world is just ever changing. So we got to be ready. Which to me, again, perfect segue maybe to that final bucket, that kind of superset idea of helping retailers embrace modernization. So we've talked about experiences. We've talked about the efficiency of the business. We've talked about trust and the importance of that, and the different angles of it, both from a security standpoint and from availability. But let's kind of wrap up then just with this uber bucket of modernization. And to me, this comes maybe more from the retailers out there that probably have an established business. You've got a strong, loyal customer base, and you're trying to navigate this world of reacting to some of the competition you're seeing, but also still understand that you need to kind of keep bringing along kind of what you've been doing because there's a reason you have a strong customer base. So as we think about those businesses that are looking to change and evolve their business and kind of accelerate their digital strategy, what are you seeing them do? What kind of should be top of mind for them? What do you see them be successful in order to remain competitive and to continue to grow that business?
Yeah. And Michael, this is a very, very interesting question, right? Because there are a number of key capabilities that are top of mind for any customer executive that think through the bigger umbrella of modernization in general. And the reason you do go through modernization effort every so often, or maybe once or twice in a decade, is because you need to basically go through the trends that industry is going through. So if you look at the latest trend today, it's the multi-cloud. That is essentially how you can accelerate your multi-cloud strategy for global expansion, how you can provide those seamless customer experiences, even if the entire cloud is out at a given point in time, right? It has never happened, but it is possible. So how do you provide insurance against an entire cloud failure and help customers go through a multi-cloud strategy as well? That's an important initiative in modernization. The second one that we see as a new trend is providing that digital native experience at the far edge location. So think of it as, providing that cloud native shopping experience, even in your retail store, like Target does that, Chick-fil-A does that, right? A lot of retailers have gone through this, tapping into new products or new technologies like Kubernetes, so that you can do local transactions in a store, and then send that data to the customer hub location as well. So edge expansion becomes really, really important. And third thing, keeping again the worker experience and your developer and operator experience in mind, how do you provide that seamless data pipeline so that they can scale up and scale down when you're opening new retail stores, or you're doing new business initiatives, you're opening a new retail website and things like that. So how scalable are your data pipelines and data tiers to go and achieve that at scale as well? So if you take a look at these things and you put that on paper, these are the things that, like a typical retail company who has really large footprint in the industry and is now on the way to achieve modernization goes through. That is, they would have monolithic style applications or databases which were handling good amount of business before. They would start going and breaking out those monoliths into microservices so that they're more scalable and resilient and can easily scale up and scale down based on the business function, like authentication, authorization, checkout service, shopping service, those kind of thing, right? It also goes back to like having better POS checkout experiences, using your Google phone or using your Google Pay or Apple Pay basically to provide that digital experiences. At the same time, getting receipts through text messages as opposed to printing them out and customers losing them and filing for RMA kind of a thing. So to do that, what we as Yugabyte do is we provide you a complete set of experiences and complete set of professional services, working with our own teams as well as our partners to take your monolith database and helping you get through modernization by doing minimal schema changes, because we are Postgres compatible, and we will provide those optimizations to do a geo-distributed style topology on public cloud, private clouds, or even hybrid clouds for that matter. Because as I said, we were born in the cloud native era, so we are very platform agnostic. You can run it on bare metal, virtual machines, or containers with the same exact experience. And you can take it one step further by basically saying that, let Yugabyte handle the entire data experience for me by going to cloud.yugabyte.com, spinning up the clusters and scaling up, scaling down based on my peak demand that comes from my enterprise customers as well. So this is very important because Yugabyte teams would take care of your data migrations, providing you the best practices when it comes to schema designs and queries and things like that as well. But as a retailer, when you go through this modernization experience, you keep that digital native experience in mind and leveraging the same technology stack with minimal code changes. And that is what Yugabyte basically provides you in this whole thing. Now, again, we do this for a lot of customers, a lot of case studies out there on our websites and other forums and our conference talks. So folks, feel free to go through our Distributed SQL Summit, and you'll hear a lot of modernization stories as part of that as well.
With that, we're out of time. We've got a lot more that we can share about how we're helping retail organizations and companies across all other industries. So please reach out, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you to everyone for joining our session today or for catching the replay. We hope you enjoy the rest of the great DSS sessions and activities.